It's on full screen. Can you see the full presentation now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Hi. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's presentation. This is part of the Aspiring and New Managers track, and I'd like to talk about a subject that very often we don't talk about because it's kind of intangible, but I really believe this has a huge impact on how our teams are able to function in different organizations. If you can't hear me clearly or if there's any problem, please do stop me. So I'm assuming that I can leave the video on, but if not, I can stop it. Yes. So I've been in the technical writing field for 22 years, a long time, and 15 of which have been as a manager. And before that, I was teaching French at Bangalore University. So yeah, I've had a bit of a mixed career. My basic skills are actually in French. Long story. So yeah, so I've been in technical writing for a long time. I'm really passionate about content, communication, customer success, strategy, collaboration, solving problems. So in a way, I started with content, as a writer, and I realized that as you grow in this field, that there are various ways you can impact the organization, not just your group, but the organization. When I became a manager, I realized there is so much more I can do apart from just helping people author better content. So we'll come to that later on. But yes, interested in various things. I've been at ARM for nearly 10 years now. We are the semiconductor field. A lot of people know me as the tree person. So I love trees, cats, squirrels, books, various things. So those trees there, by the way, are in Cubbon Park in Bangalore. You can see me at the bottom down there. Those are giant silk cotton trees. I love long walks, listening to people's stories, and eventually I used to keep a blog, and eventually I compiled a few of those stories into a book recently, inspired by Anu and Sandhya, both of whom who are published authors and have made their books happen. So I sat on it for a long, long, long time and finally published this in December. So that's about me. So it's a little while to move. Okay. So I'm sharing examples from what I'm familiar with in the organizations I have worked in. Before joining ARM, I was in the software field. I was working in the education sector, software for education sector, and then software for the manufacturing field. And this is my context right now, but you can adapt it, you can extrapolate, adapt it to your leadership style, what will work in your context. There will be some points that will be repeated, that is intentional, because I'm also looking at it from a manager's perspective and also from a team member's perspective. So some of them will be repeated. So what is the current scenario in the tech writing field? We have a strong dependence on engineering. We document what they develop, right? We don't really have, an existence by ourselves. So there is this huge connection that we have. A lot of people don't really know what technical writers actually do and how we add value. So there are people who say, oh, they think we are just, glorified editors. We have all those, terms that we use when we talk about how we are not treated the best way we should be, right? And the definition of the role also varies across companies. I also notice people with various designations, which are really, really different. And what you do might also be slightly different. And people come from very diverse backgrounds, because it's still in a way, we don't have, say, how many people do we have who come in with a master in technical writing degree, right? Because people come in from various fields into tech writing, though I believe that's changing. There are degrees and certifications available in technical writing, so people might choose that as a profession right from college and then come in. But historically, this has not been the case. And because of this diverse background, we have very different skill sets also in our team, skill sets, knowledge, preferences. We really have, many of us have a very diverse team. And we have to acknowledge not everyone is driven or passionate about the role, right? I mean, let's face it, right? Everyone's not, everyone sometimes is not even cut out to be a writer, technical writer. They've come in there for various other reasons. And sometimes we have performance issues because they just the wrong job. Maybe they're fantastic at something else, but they chose this for whatever reason, right? So this is what we currently have to work with. And what is the outcome of all of this, right? So respect. Very often writers feel they're not respected enough in the hierarchy in the organization. they very often, and it manifests itself in different ways. For example, struggling to get reviews and information from engineering. I don't have to describe that. We all know what that is. Inclusion, and very often not included in activities, initiatives, communication that goes around, just because they feel, okay, oh, the documentation team does not need to know this, right? And poor visibility. People don't understand how we add value, and sometimes there's not enough recognition. So what can we do about it? So this is really my agenda. What can we do as leaders? What can we do to influence this situation? How do we make the situation better? So I broadly divided it into leader as ambassador, basically the outward facing part of our role, and the leader as motivator, which is basically how we develop our teams and how we build pride in the team. And of course, I'd like to really hear from all of you. I might skip some slides at the end if I run out of time. I've kept an alarm for myself at 10:30. That is not my morning wake up alarm. It's just to make sure that I'm keeping track of time. So the leader as ambassadors. So what does that mean? So we really, if you look at the leader of any department, the senior manager of any department, that person in many ways is the face of the department. So we are the face of our departments. People form opinions of a department based on the leader. We all do this unconsciously, and we even do it at multiple levels. For example, I tell my writers, when you travel, you are representing your country. People will form opinions about India if you are the only Indian they have met. All right, because it's really who we are reflects also on our profession, where we come from, everything. Right, and it is unconscious, not that people actually think about it, but unconsciously people form an opinion. And therefore, it's very important, as the face, as the representative of the tech writing community, we need to be visible and also build credibility and respect. And if we are respected in the company, our teams will be treated better. So I've realized this, during the course of my journey as a leader, that I might just want to sit in one corner and not, do a lot of the things that I've explained in the slides ahead. But it has an impact on the team. If nobody knows me, my team will also bear the brunt of that invisibility. There is an impact. I don't really have a choice. I have to be out there. So invest in winning respect. So we struggle with this being liked versus respected, right? Very often, if we might be familiar with a situation where we allow engineering or our stakeholders to get away with, not doing certain things because we want to be liked, we don't want to escalate. But it is more important to be respected. Like will follow after that. We have to aim for respect because like is not enough. That will not get us cooperation, right? People will not do things and will not prioritize content if they do not respect us enough. And how do we build respect for our department? The first and foremost thing, to start from the big picture, right? Have a clear understanding of the company strategy. What is the company trying to do? What is the focus? And business strategy changes. It evolves with changing, market needs, industry needs, whatever, right? What is the business doing? It's very important to be plugged into this, because what we are trying to do has to completely align with the larger goal. And if we fail to do that, at times what happens is that they might be going in one direction and they find out that we are not adding value. So as long as we're aligned with what the company is trying to achieve, what is the big challenge they're trying to address, our work will not be redundant. Our work will be valuable because we are trying to help the companies succeed. And sometimes we assume that this is going to happen from the top, but may not always, right? So it's very important to attend meetings that talk about company strategy. If you don't understand, speak to people. There's always people who can explain to you what's going on, right? And this it really means relooking at your deliverables and saying, okay, this is what the company is, trying to do now, and is the work that we are doing, aligning with that. And this also helps you to create new opportunities for your team. And it is your job to really connect the team to this larger picture, right? And so that they understand why this is important. This is important at multiple levels. If the team understands that my work is contributing to the larger picture, they automatically feel, that they're doing something important, right? Whereas, okay, I'm just documenting some products, right? That is different from, say, for example, the company is trying to achieve a business goal, and this is the way I contribute to that large picture. automatically you have a sense of pride because you understand that your work is not just sending out documentation, but you're doing something much bigger, right? So very important as a leader to connect with this, to understand this, and get also the senior people who are reporting it to you, make sure that they also align with this. Speak up for customers. So our role primarily is to be a customer advocate, right? And very often this kind of gets lost because we are so entrenched in working with engineering, and we forget that that we are here really as to speak about what customers need, right? We are not writing the documentation for engineering unless, of course, you're writing content for engineering. If you're writing for an external customer, it's important that you represent the customer within the organization. And everybody in the company is trying to help customers succeed, right? And I'll come back to this point again. Everything is going to help all of us are working towards the same purpose. It's important that we understand that our role is really to enhance customer experience via content in its various forms. So that is our real role, and it's important that we speak up for that. And growing experts and leaders. So I've had people, junior managers, speak to me about how they're trying to be everything. They want to be an expert in content, an expert in tools, processes, and fantastic line managers and writers and everything, right? So what happens is eventually you will get completely, your focus is completely diluted, and you will not have enough time to do what you need to do, which is basically work on the strategy for your team's growth and your team's contribution to the larger organization. Everything I'm going to speak about in the following slides does require time, right? And so how are you going to make that time, right? So try not to be to kind of stretch yourself too thin. It's important to know what's happening in your team, but you cannot be an expert in everything. And it's important that you grow experts within your team. There are many people who have specific interests, right? There are people who really want to be strongly technical. We all have writers like that, right? They want to be individual contributors. They want to grow in that path. In which case, invest in them. One of the things that we can very easily do is to get the mentors in engineering, product management, wherever, right? It could be internal, external, whatever. Help them get mentors who will help them become experts within your team. So you rely on their expertise, right? But it is really, your job is to identify opportunities for them to develop and also contribute to discussions. I have one of my writers who is part of an engineering architecture committee. I asked if the person could help, and they said, I don't think so, it's too technical. And I said, he'll learn. We'll invest in that. I got him a senior engineer to help him with it, and now he's actually part of an engineering decision-making body, right? So identify opportunities and push them forward, help them become experts. And if there are people who have leadership potential, again, make sure that you're putting them forward. So your job is really, in a way, standing behind and allowing these people to come forward as experts in various fields. So your job is really to support them, because this will bring us huge respect, right? And it's that expertise is what is big component of being respected. Developing quality champions, we all know about this, right? And when I say, I don't have to explain how to improve quality in a team, but when you say you're a champion, that's something a little more. It's important that you hold everybody to high standards. If there is a problem in your team, the quality champions in your team, because these are the ones who will immediately say, hey, this is flipped, which means, if this thing has slipped, it means that it's going to, if everything downstream is going to slip, eventually the documentation will be set out in a hurry, right? And that cannot happen, right? So you want people to be, banging on the door, shouting, saying that, hey, this is not acceptable, right? And these are champions, people who will speak up, who will get customer feedback, who will drive decisions, who will showcase their achievements in company-wide forum, talking about why quality is important and how you cannot compromise on content quality, right? So the champion part is the key word here, right? Not just do your own work, make it good, but also make sure that everything that you speak up as a champion for quality. This is very important because everybody understands quality. You don't have to explain. Invest to get returns. it's important to invest in social and emotional capital. So it is, we know this, but how do we do this, right? To get cooperation from stakeholders, you can't really go and demand cooperation from people, right? They need to know you, they need to respect you. And how do you do this, right? You have to infiltrate into the organization, especially if you're a new manager, nobody knows you, right? Uh, find out groups where you can go and participate, you can join group. Basically, like I said, it could be even be a diversity and inclusion board, right? It could be anything. But the fact is that you are infiltrating the organization. You are in forums where people are seeing you as, and you can, where you can, these are potential opportunities for you to talk about your team, right? So volunteer in places where you will get to meet people from other, you will get to meet people from other departments where you can. And important to write, primary job is to write company blogs, newsletters, and encourage your team also to do this. This is a primary skill. Make sure that we are speaking about our job, about customers. Sorry, could everyone go on mute, please? Hear a lot of noise in the background. Yeah. So encourage your team members also to do this. Give and take. So when we ask people to support us, also find ways in which we can help them, right? Because it's very important that a relationship with other teams is equal, right? We should be treated as equal. How do you do this? What can we possibly give engineering? And this is where having one-to-ones with senior leaders, of teams whom you work with is very, very important. Of course, you can talk about, how your team adds values to customers. A very short thing. You can even ask for 30 minutes. So by default, my meetings are all 30 minutes. Never ask somebody for 1 hour. Most people do not have the time. So at least get in 30 minutes, have a conversation, talk about how your team adds values to customers, adds value to customers, and ask what are your top 3 challenges. Initially, people are confused as to why are you asking, right? But what can you do about it? But this is where you need to think of, okay, if somebody, for example, is struggling with engineers are struggling to communicate with customers. There's been a lot of delays and misunderstandings, etc. Maybe there's an opportunity there for you to do something about it. And I'll talk about this. So the main point is to understand what are senior leaders in engineering or whichever function you're trying to influence. What are they struggling with? And then you need to go back and think, okay, is there something that my team can do to help them? So you can't obviously solve all their problems, right? But people will remember you made an effort. And there is effort that you can actually make. For example, writing courses. All departments need to communicate, write mails and documents, and these are our strengths, right? And communication courses that can be reusable. I use the word reusable because it should not ideally be a lot of effort for your team. Reusable writing courses that can help the entire company communicate better. You can even record and upload this information, if scaling is an issue, but it could be a one-time effort where you have, say, writing good emails, writing good presentations to customers, whatever, right? Invest in it once and use that to present to multiple audiences. Or if you want to make it even more simple, record it once, upload it to your learning portal or whatever, right? But this is a small effort from our side because this is the core strength, right? But it makes a huge impact to the company because everybody needs to come in, right? Newsletters. Again, if you have the time, take up newsletters. But if you don't have the time, help people design and send out better newsletters, right? And documents. You could help teams design better templates for their documents. The one-time effort. This again, we may not have the time to go and pick up the document and say, my team will handle it from now on, but we can help you create better documentation templates, right? So these are very simple ways in which you kind of change the equation, right? That you are not just seen as people who come and forever asking for reviews or information, but people who also give to them. You're basically kind of making it more the relationship more balanced. Highlight contributions. So we invest a lot in improving the quality of our documentation, right? But do they know? Do they know about that, right? Do they know what we're doing, what's going on within our team's effort that we put in, right? And identify opportunities to showcase the value brings. This could be slots in newsletters, presentations, company-wide communication. So basically, this could be plugs. For example, there's a company-wide presentation going on, different things talking about. what they're doing, and don't wait to be asked. Okay, find out and ask, say, okay, this is going to happen. Can I plug this in? Or this is a newsletter, right? Can I have a section for my team? Right? Go and ask, and then put in. It could be just one slider which says that this is what we achieved in the last one quarter. And if you've understood the business strategy and if you're aligning with the larger business goal, you can say, this is how my team is contributing to the larger business goal, right? It could be one slide. And create opportunities for your team to present in larger groups. This is very, very important that your team needs to learn to step up and address larger audiences because it increases their visibility. It helps grow new leaders within your team, and they also become more confident, right? Because these are the engineers start seeing them differently because okay, oh, this is the person who presented in that large presentation. I know who they are. And one thing which we've been trying, I started this last year, asking for 10 minutes slots. So if we set up a presentation and invite the whole world, maybe nobody will come. But if all teams usually have all hands meeting, I don't know if that will be called differently in your teams, but basically an engineering teams meeting, ask for a 10-minute slot. Maybe have 5 slides, but 5 slides in which you're talking about how your team has helped customers do something better through better content in the last one quarter. That's it. 10 minutes, you're in a presentation where they have come to hear their managers speak and you have stepped in, or one of your team members is speaking in that, then you have a captive audience and they will listen to it, right? And so this has been working very well for us, and I'm hoping to continue this, going forward too. To save time, invest time, right? I'm sure many of you would have seen this graphic by Hakan Force. Yeah, that we tend to be saying, oh, we have no time, right? But it's important to invest time in activities that will choose to reflect on, because if you have built credibility, you get better collaboration later on, and therefore you can do your work much, much faster. So the second part would be the leader as motivator. So this has been, the external facing part. Now, what about, within the team? You also have to work on the team. So pride. The pride, this is extremely, extremely important. How is your team proud to be technical writers? I'm not even just talking about value, I'm just talking about caring for your work, but pride. Pride is extremely important. Because when you're proud about what you're doing, when you have pride in your work, you also stand up for it. You do not allow people to treat you badly, right? Do writers understand the value they bring and how they contribute to the larger, and do they interact confidently and assertively with other departments? I'll come to that. And do they stand up for quality? So if any of the answers for any of these things is no, then you have your job cut out. You probably have heard of this story about this person who made some people cutting stones, and he asked one person, so what are you doing? And he said, yeah, I'm just cutting these rocks, I'm just making smaller stone. And the other person says, I'm building a cathedral, right? So it's cliched. There's also a similar story about the NASA janitor, right? But the point here is really about, do people understand the larger purpose of their work? Are they just seeing it, okay, I'm just updating a document versus that help customer do something, right? So if they're not able to see that, you need to show them, right? That this is why your work is important. Respect, they fully understand the value we could bring. And not just by what you're doing currently now, because all of this can evolve, right? Our teams can evolve, what we contribute can evolve. What do we have? What is our true potential, right? So no one can ride your back unless it's bent. So we attribute various people. I don't know who really said it, but I always remember this, right? And people respect those who respect themselves. They don't mess around with people when they feel that okay, they really, they really value what they do. They have pride. Whereas the moment you bend, right, then it is like, okay, fine, this person is a pushover. We could on this department. It can build pride, right? How do we build pride? You can't force people. Okay, just we have pride, right? How do we build pride? Emphasize that we are customer advocate, right? The strong voice inside the company that stands up for what customers. And this is very important that while I will emphasize this again later on, that we will not have we will not have we'll never become engineers, right? We are not going to be in a situation where we are going to compete with engineers. That is not the purpose of our role at all, right? So it's important that we understand that we are, what we're trying to do is to speak up for the customer, improve our deliverable in such a way that they can do what they need to do, and measure the performance of your team, not by the number of releases sent out, but in terms that enhance quality. It's important that that is what you reward. So what you reward and what you recognize will decide how the team is going to be going forward. And that is why it's important to invest in building this tribe. And I have a few more slides later on. So everything you do eventually adds to, right, to help them understand that they have tribe. Defining your contribution. So a lot of companies have, different, the role is very varied in different companies. And so you have to understand that you can actually define the role of communication. If you're aligned with business strategy, if you can also see that opportunities sometimes support external and internal customers. So make sure that you have a wish list of things that you can eventually do, where time budgets permits picking up these items. So it's not possible to do everything, right? We have a work cut out, we have only a limited time. But if we are able to create this wish list where we make sure that, these are things, the moment we have some time between projects, so maybe this a kind of a lull time, pick up these. And this also helps the team, broaden their skills. They get to do different. And so it's important to encourage that, whatever you do, you can influence design and decision. So what are these opportunities? Make a list of them, look out for them, and when it is possible, step in and make sure that you're drawing your team to this act. Will assertiveness, this is extremely critical. I think all technical writers, all groups, it could even be project management, anybody who is not engineering has a tendency to think we are somehow lower in the hierarchy. I have run my team through, I've asked HR for assertiveness training. There are various external vendors who do this. It's very important that that you invest in, get your team trained. Get your team trained on assertiveness. What is assertiveness? Because we all know this, right? Last minute requests for reviews. So whenever sometimes I invite people, when we interview people, I often ask them what to do when something is delayed, right? Usually what happens is writers just work overtime, right? And somehow make it happen. You stay up all night, you work all weekend. That is not good. That is definitely not good in the long term. You have to work proactively to prevent the situation from even happening. And for that, it's important that you are assertive as a manager and also your team is, because you can't always bring in your manager to solve all your problems, right? You also need to make sure that the team builds up the skills in order to be able to do this themselves, right? And how do you measure this? How do you make sure that people are assertive? Because I assure you this is not easy, because these are long-term habits that are very hard to break, and therefore have performance objectives set for demonstrating as the point out opportunities. For example, someone's trying to kind of push, saying that okay, I can't deliver this now, not helping your team member. Identify this opportunity for them and let them know, hey, why don't you push back, right? And maybe they can run it past you what they're going to write in the email, but get them to speak up, and they can speak up saying that okay, I don't want to send this out now in this situation, in this particular form, because it's not high quality and we can't send out good quality stuff to customers. So it is very, very important to build your teams as a business and to be able to stand up for yourself. That hugely increases your confidence, not just at work, but in your personal life also. So this is the life skill, which completely changes your life, not just your work. All growth happens outside the comfort zone, right? And you can't just have a one-day course on assertiveness and your life has changed, right? You have to keep practicing. And this is where you have to challenge your team to stretch themselves and do what makes them afraid. So one of the ways I try to do this with my team is to get them to do those 10-minute presentations or even larger presentations. So I don't go, I get the team to present, because then slowly, initially it is scary, right? You're presenting to 200 people or whatever, right? But slowly, that's the only way you're going to learn. There's no way you're getting out of that fear zone unless you actually practice it. It's not a one-day course and your life will not change, right? So very, very important to challenge you, not let them be overly comfortable. Why do people forget to, right? We often complain about this, they missed adding us in this communication, they didn't tell us this. So they don't hear from you often enough, they don't see you at all. They don't see you as part of, right? They don't know enough about how much you care for the product, and it's very old. TechOps or the documentation team does not need to know about. And they're not clear about how you contribute to the larger picture, right? Because you have to change this. How do you do this, right? Visibility. It's very important highlighting the team's contributions across the company's internal media or external. Create opportunities for them to present. Like I said, the 10-minute things are working very well for us. Make sure that even junior people can, right? And this is where instead of the manager doing the presentation all the time, get your team members, get them to take. And I'm telling you, even junior people, your junior most person can be coached to present. Well, these are great opportunities for them to build their, right? So you help them with the slide deck or whatever you're going to talk about. You attend the meeting, make sure you are there to support them, but make them, right? And encourage them to contribute to company blogs, letters. So you have to be visible, not just when, in your interaction, it's a very transactional interaction, but you have to be visible in the company. So when you come to speak to them, they already know who you are, right? And they already know that, they see you as a customer advocate, they see you as somebody, very particular about quality, right? So it's very important to identify these small plugs. And even companies' internal media, externally, it could just be 2 paragraphs, right? But the fact that you have plugged in your team and highlighted your team across the organization makes a big difference in the way they will be treated, during their interaction. So you have to earn a seat at the table. You can't force it, right? You can't just say, okay, I need to. Yeah. And you start with putting your foot in the door until they invite you to sit at the table. And this is why I said, don't wait to be invited. Okay, I say that, okay, they forgot to invite me. Go make a big noise. Make sure they never forget you. Or, your team was forgotten out of something. Go make a big noise, right? It is not, you can't just sit around and say, okay, that's how it is and I can't change anything. You can change things, right? So put your foot in the door, make sure that, okay, you are there, you will speak up, and then they start to get you. So help your team see their larger goal, right? Like I said, your goal is not to compete with engineering, pick up for the customer, right? And very often in large meetings, with other groups, writers don't say anything because they feel, okay, I'm not as technically strong as the engineers in this room, so what can I say? It is really not your job, right? To challenge them technically. Well, if you have the knowledge, fantastic, but if you don't feel ashamed because that is really not your job. But looking at from, okay, how's the customer going to use? What is the context that they use, right? Speak from behalf of the customer, right? Find out who are the customer facing people. Not every writer gets to travel to customer site, right? But maybe there are customer facing people who actually go visit customers. Speak to them, ask for speak to them, ask for opportunities for direct engagement. And sometimes it is possible that, sometimes you ask like, can my writer go visit this customer or can they join this customer call? You would be surprised that there are many times they might actually say yes. It's very often that, it's just a kind of belief that, customer support talks to customers directly. The documentation team does not, but maybe you can change that, right? You can actually ask for opportunities, keep asking a different places saying, okay, can we have a customer call? Maybe you are going to have a customer call. Can we have 10 minutes to bring in to talk about the documentation? So don't be afraid. You have nothing to lose. Just keep asking, find opportunities for your team to actually talk to customers. What you could encourage your team to do, right? Show interest in the product and the customer, right? Very often, engineers have this belief that the writers only care about the content, whereas they don't care about what we are doing, what where is the product line going, what's happening in the future, right? So it's very important that writers show an interest and have some curiosity, not just okay, I need to update this chapter. That's about it. I don't care what's happening in this release, right? And that not caring really shows, it comes across and people do look at you differently. Whereas if you're curious, and like I said, you may not always be able to ask deeply technical questions, but what about generic questions, right? Like what the advantage does this feature give to the customer, right? Or is there any other product that gives the same advantage? And why did they ask for this feature if it's a made to order feature, right? What are customers struggling with, and who are our typical customers? What context they use the product, right? any of our competitors offering this. There's so many general questions that you can ask, which show that you are, you are interested. So if you look at it, if you look at very senior leadership, them presenting for example, them participating in a very technical meeting. I've seen senior engineering managers saying that I don't even understand the technology because they are really not focusing on that, right? They're really looking at more strategic advancement of the team, right? But they ask questions which are broader, right? Which also helps everyone understand the larger picture, not just the attend meetings all hands. So is your team part of broader engineering email aliases? This is very important. Look at aliases, right? Maybe there are things happening that your team is never getting invited to. Why? Because they're not part of, for example, at the site, they're not part of an alias, right? Go and ask saying, can my team alias be added to this? Because I want my team to be in the all hands meeting because we stand to benefit, right? Or they are maybe it's a project alias and your team member is just added as an afterthought, right? But they're not part of the actual team. And then say, oh, we don't want to spam you. It's okay, please spam us, right? Because we want to be there. We don't want to miss out things. And make sure that you attend meetings where you're likely to learn about product technical detail, roadmap definition. So sometimes writers might think, okay, this is just going to take up my time. I'm already really busy, right? But what you do, maybe if you invest in say 10 minutes, I'm just going to attend this, right? Maybe there's something that you understand in there. And it also shows people that you care about it, right? So what happens is, like I'm saying, this is all very intangible, right? But it is about the impression that people have about you. If you are attending a presentation where they're talking about the roadmap and you ask a question, they'll remember that you are showing an interest in what they care about, right? And especially as a leader, make sure that you are in all hands, you are visible, and you're finding out what's happening in the larger picture. So people treat you differently if they understand that you really care about the product, where the company is going, where the business is heading, etc., and not just your little corner and the little bit that you do. Emphasize common purpose. So I have said this earlier. I put it on this slide specifically, as you can see that what I want to emphasize here is that we are all equal. We are all trying to do the same thing. There is no hierarchy. I put all the bullets at the same level, right? Everybody is doing things of value, and we are all trying to strive for the common purpose. Your writers need to understand that that they are equal to other teams and that they're doing their part of it, right? But we're all doing the same thing. And if you have this, if you believe in this, right? If you believe that your work is part of this larger whole, you also respect your work much better, right? And you will stand up for yourself so much more if you understand that this is not a hierarchy where there's some teams at the top and we're somewhere at the bottom. No, everybody is working towards a common goal, and what you do is your expertise. Is an engineer a fantastic writer? Very often, no, right? But that's not their job. And similarly, can you code? No, I can't. So it doesn't mean because that's not your job. We hired you to be a writer, right? And so it's important that your team understands that that where they stand in this situation and why they are important. Building relationships, like I mean, it's very cliched, but it really makes a huge difference, right? I mean, it's not minor at all. And this has become even more important now since many of us have been working from home for the last 2 years, right? All the advantages of networking at a coffee table or during lunchtime or in the corridors has all gone. So how do you still make sure that you are not losing out on the connection that human level, right? If you just go to somebody only when you need something from them, there's a difference, right? Whereas you kind of try and see them at a personal level. And whenever starting meetings on a personal note, I cannot emphasize this enough because people really value starting meetings on a personal note, especially somebody you're working with in a project, right? How you been? What's happening? Just making small talk. Maybe some people absolutely hate doing this, but I tell you, it's a small investment. Just asking that question, it makes a difference. It just makes the conversation easier, and it makes it less transactional. And checking on them, right? Especially now, I mean, we have gone through some really, really horrible periods in the last 2 years and COVID wave, right? Just checking in on all the people that you work with, or you know are part of the organization, saying that everything's okay with you and your family. Costs very little. Just ping on various various social media, just checking on is everyone okay, right? Invest them as guest speakers. This never everybody loves or by and large, everyone loves what you're doing. So if you invite engineers or product managers or whoever to come and speak to your team, uh, people love it, because everyone likes to talk about their work, what they're working on, and a lot of people are very passionate about what they're doing. Invite them as guests because it serves two purposes. One, your team gets to know something new or they get to know something more. Secondly, they like your team better, right? Because they've been invited, they feel honored that you respected them enough to invite them as a speaker, right? And so, yeah, but it absolutely is a fantastic idea and works very well. And they never forget your team because they've come and interacted with your team, they've asked questions, they've connected with your team. Big investment. It's a very small investment, but big return. Recognize people you work with. Find opportunities to say thank you. And this, I cannot state this enough. Just letting somebody has been nice to, this is again your team members, right? Your team members, this is not just you, right? If somebody has helped your team member really, encourage them to write that email, not just you doing it every time. Providing if there's performance review, that's there when everybody wants feedback, right? Don't wait for to be asked. Make a list of all the people who have been nice to you, and you know that their performance appraisal is going to happen right now. Make sure that if it's in a system or an email, send a thank you, CC their manager, your manager, and some companies have the badges stuff like that, right? Things to write in a day, a badge that you can take, oh, this person is whatever, right? Recognize things. This is also an investment in another way. Maybe there might be situations where you will have a bad interaction. This kind of showing appreciation helps you rebuild your rapport. It's far easier if you have praised this person a few times to actually bring up when something has not happened well, right? It just makes it easier because then it's not only being you found fault with them, right? But you've also said nice to them. Set reminders. My manager, she sticks these sticky notes on her monitor so that she remembers to say thank you to somebody in the organization. Easily done. So someday we could get a reserved seat at the table, right? And this is what we're really looking at, where people actually invite you to be part of the meeting, where you don't necessarily have to. And that is when or they speak about other teams talk about TechCom saying, okay, hey, we've forgotten the TechCom, we've forgotten the right that can we invite them. That is when you realize that you actually have arrived in many ways and you have a reserved seat. So summary, really, this is what I wanted to talk about. Grow experts, leaders, advocates, quality champions. Make sure that you are showcasing the value that you take, both you and your team. Build assertiveness. Cannot emphasize that enough. Pride. You are what you've been. If you think you are worth being treated with respect, would ensure that you're being treated with respect. Invest in relationships. Help others. All of it, if you look at it very, what you call, very commonsensical, right? But all of this makes a difference to how we are treated. And all of this, the more cooperation we get from our stakeholders, the better our content will be. Because once they start valuing your work, they will come on their own to tell you, hey, you know what, maybe you should add this in the documentation because this will help customers do this better. Right? They will come on their own because they've understood what you're trying to do and how you're making life easier for customers. So that's where we are trying to get to, right? And also not just your work, your content getting better, teams feel better because it raises their morale, they feel respected within the organization, they have better job satisfaction, all of it is good for us, right? So yes, so this is what I had. I would really love to hear from you. What have you tried out in your organization? What has worked for you? What can I learn? I think Sharath has also posted a feedback form. In the meanwhile, any questions, comments?
Hey, Asha, this is Devi.
Hi, Devi.
Yeah, first I would like to thank you to getting all this very grateful, useful tips for us. It's really valid. What the each slides gives lot of information like So what we need to take as a priority first, as you said, I like the style, like not to take too many things in with us, like it's not really required, right? Like to be expert in all the things, then we'll be missing all our mainline things, what we are supposed to do as a responsibility. So
Yeah.
sometimes in a team, like when we have the team has a combination of people, right? With some will be like still they have the capability. It depends on their individual things. So few as let it be very transparent. Few members they have the nature ability to help others. Few people they're really skilled, but no, they don't come up and help.
Yeah.
So during that time, kind of stages, what kind of suggestions as a manager where we can get that kind of a potential person to motivate them to help the other peers with them. You 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 be able to understand what I'm trying to
I
say?
got it.
Like
I got it. I got it. Getting
that
people to
they're really
get on.
potential, yeah,
Yes.
but they're really potential. Some people they don't know, okay, it's really us. When somebody asks only I can go and tell, because in team meetings, like they really know, like okay, this person really needed help, it's their team only. Some people, like without asking itself, they, hey, I know this, yeah, I can help you out. But few, they will like, why I have to help, it's their job, let them get those kind of, it depends, right? We
Yes,
have seen
absolutely.
these kind, yeah. So
Absolutely. I
when,
get your point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so that time, like we will tell in our one-on-ones, or individually, like why don't you this, like when a few people really come after after once we say that, okay, they will go and offer their help and help them to come up. But there are very few, still we need to, it depends, right? Like they are not really interested to help, like the kind of really challenging situations are there.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I totally get what you mean. And I think that is something that all of us struggle with just because, of the diversity of people, etc. So what behaviors that you see in your team, what behaviors do you recognize and reward? That really decides what behaviors you see in the team. So it's very important, one, to you set expectations. For example, we all create objectives for the team for the whole year, right? Which is later on used for the annual appraisal. Make sure that knowledge sharing is an objective. So in our company, it's also at a company level, value that we look at. Knowledge sharing is very important. We have something called we not I. So it's important that you create objectives, stated objectives, saying that, why knowledge sharing is important. And this is an expectation from you for which you will be, against which you will be measured at the end of the year during your annual appraisal. So if you have not bothered to do any single thing, you're not going to get any points for that particular objective. Ensure that you have regular slots in your team meetings for knowledge sharing. In fact, I don't even use my team meetings for status. We used it for knowledge sharing, and have a page where, there's a slot for every single person in the team. And you know what they're experts at, right? If they say they don't know what to share, I mean, you give them a suggestion, by making sure that everybody in the team is taking turns to share knowledge. Everyone has something to share. Everyone's good at something, right? So make it a mandatory thing that you have a slot for everybody in the team, have a published table or whatever, right? So that everyone has to share. And because, and so that I'm saying, it's basically one, setting expectations, the other one, having a process that makes it easy for people to share information, and the third, you're recognizing and rewarding that behavior. If, for example, somebody is very good at proactively coming up without any of this stuff, make sure you make a big thing about that person, right? Make sure that you're in team meetings, that you're giving them a badge, or kind of praising them at a company level. So everything around recognition, that definitely does make a difference. This is what I have. Anyone else wants to add on?
Thank you so much, Asha. Thank you. That's really great. Tip. Like, yeah, if that is the key objective for them, yeah, there is no way they have to start doing that automatically, aligning with them as a part of it. That's really. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? I'm just looking at the comments.
Hi, Asha. This is
Hi.
Mriduli.
Yeah, hi.
So, because I joined a new company as a senior manager, what I realized is that there are two types of challenges. One is that, earning the respect from your own team, and another is building that respect for your team in the larger spectrum, for the entire organization. So, can you please give some tips about earning the respect from your own team as a, manager when you
Ah,
join, when you take over a new team, that is?
oh, great. Yes, absolutely. I think this is something that all of us struggle with when we start as a new manager. I struggled with this during the first few years also, and especially because I was almost at the same level as everybody else, and then I became the manager. So it was really, really hard. So, so the one thing that everybody cares about is their personal development, right? And I feel the easiest way to get respect is to invest in the personal development of every person in your team. And I spoke about growing experts and showcasing them, right? So making sure that you're investing in helping them get better at what they're doing, finding mentors for them, creating opportunities for them to present their knowledge in larger groups, creating opportunities for them to influence a larger organization, praising them in public if they've done all of these things. Everything that goes into helping developing that person, right? So help them improve their job, but also help them develop as an individual. And once
Right.
they start seeing you as somebody who's completely invested in helping them grow as a writer, as an individual, they start looking up to you. Even if you were like like in my situation, I was at the same level as everybody, right? So it's very hard. They resent the fact that you've actually become manager, right? So once they start seeing you as somebody who is actually investing a lot in raising their profile, they start looking up to you. And
Sure.
they also, you're also showcasing them in front of other people and find out what they're weak at, right? Like maybe they're good at their work, but they're very hesitant to kind of talk about their work or whatever. Create an opportunity, like I said, those 10-minute presentations, whatever, help them make a pitch for something, support them. So be this person who's behind, but pushing them forward.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Asha, for that.
Anything else? Anything else that anyone has tried out or which has worked very well for you? I'd really like to hear from you all. I heard that I read that Mridula, you worked on a static website for the engineering team. Great.
And Asha, I would like to, just comment about the last point that you just said. What I initiated is create a internal website for our team. Sorry.
Mhm, mhm.
What that does is that not only introduces all the team members, but also the projects and what we are capable of doing, and something that you mentioned about helping other teams with the writing skills. So
Yeah.
we put that on our website that we would love to collaborate with you and help you with this. So I think that really puts us into the limelight and helps other teams get to understand us better. We used Google Sites to build that.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that makes it, especially having something on a website. I think that would have really wide reach. Yeah. I hope you saw the feedback form that Sharath had posted. If you could add, and if you also want to know more, or if you have any suggestions on other sessions related to this topic, please do mention anything that you're struggling with. Okay. If we don't have any more questions, we could take some time back for your busy day. The slide deck and the recording will be available on the website, which we will be sharing on LinkedIn. Okay.
Thank you, Asha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the wonderful session, Asha.